Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So as you guys can see here, today we are back with a Nilah updated complete guide for the latest patch. And in this particular game, I actually played her in the jungle, but of course you can play her in the ADC role as well. Before we really get into it though, don't forget to check out her basic guide. I'll put up in the cards above for her skills, leveling order tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But with that said, let's get straight into it. So, in my opinion, the build is the exact same both for jungle as well as for ADC. The only real difference is the minor rune, which I'll talk a little bit about later, but the main build basically remains the same. So, there is a small change. The items are still the same, but the order kind of changes. So, previously we used to do the IE rush with all of the crit items, with all the crit cloaks and brawlers gloves after that. We're not going to do that anymore. We're actually just going to go for a standard build path for right now. So we're going to start with the Gluttonous Grease for the AD and the Omnivan, which of course you can swap out for one of the defensive boots later on in the game when you pick up like 2-3 items. The first item this time is going to be Immoral Shield Bow. Now this is a pretty interesting first item because this is pretty much actually like a late game or last item most of the time nowadays, because the stat line is okay, but it's not as amazing as something like Bloodthirster or other competing first items like Stormrazor, for example. You do get decent amount of stats, but what you're really after is the Lifeline passive for the shield. So you might be wondering why you want to build it first item. Well, basically, it's because Nilah is really weak in the early game, so you want to get that shield a little bit early on to just survive fights. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that in the gameplay, but that's the main reason. So stat stick item, Bloodthirster gives you a really nice stat line, and gives you physical vamp, just lovely stuff. And then third item, IE. Huge amount of AD as well as increasing your crit damage, and at this point you will have like 3 completed items. You would have skill into the game and you'll be pretty strong at this point. That's why you're going to pick up your Maul Reminder for the Armor Pen as well as the Grievous Wounds. And the last item is really flexible because being a melee champion you can get something like a Death's Dance, one of my favorite items to get, because Death's Dance of course gives you that delayed physical damage as well as letting you heal up when you get takedowns. Another one of my favorites is Spirit Visage, which gives you of course a lot of health, a lot of magic resist, and increasing your healing and shielding. I go for this over items like Maw or Wits End all of the time because I think this item is just way superior in terms of just boosting your defenses as well as giving you a lot more healing and shielding, which you have already a lot of in your kit. Now, another option you can go for is Navori, which is going to give you your cooldowns faster. Very important for getting your W and E cooldown back up. And of course, Starix is also a good option for your last item, just for the extra shield. So runes, you can go for, of course, Conqueror. You can stack it up and get extra AD and Omnivan. Now, First Strike and Fleet Footwork also options as well, but I think Conqueror is the best one. Now, here is a little bit controversial. Now, Brutal is okay because you do auto-attack a decent amount, but you could also go for Gathering Storm because you don't really, auto-attack that much because you're a melee champion, so you lose out on a lot of opportunity to auto-attack whether you're in the jungle or you're in the lane. And then Giant Slayer generally counters the tanks or Coup de Grace if you're into a full squishy team. You want to get Alacrity for the extra attack speed because you already have healing in all your first 3 items, including boots, but what you really need is more attack speed. Now for the jungle, Sudden Impact is amazing because you can proc it off your dashes. If you're in lane, it still can work, but in lane what's better is Second Wind to basically just survive the lane and ensure that you're topped up on health when you get poked out inevitably by the enemy dragon laner. So yeah. And then for the spells, of course, if you're in lane, you want to go for Flash, Exhaust. And if you're in the jungle, like where I am in this video, you want to go for Flash and Smite, of course. But with all that said, let's hop into the gameplay now. Okay, so now hopping into our gameplay, of course, guys, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and of course, be sure to address them. So, in this game, I'm going to be talking about both Nilah as a champion as well as just jungling in general, since jungle videos on my channel are rare. By the way, I did get autofilled, and jungle was my 5th choice, so I'm definitely not the best jungler out there, but, I'm just, like, decent, I guess. So, first up, we obviously put a controller on the opposite side buff of what we're starting, just to get info if Lilia invades us. I think it's pretty unlikely, but information is king. So first up, we're going to start off with the Crux. So with the Crux on Nilah or Nilah, depending on how you want to call her, there is a sort of trick. So firstly, you see her auto attacks are cleaving because number 1, she's melee, number 2, her Q is set. So you can see here, you have to actually manually target the Crux. So you see I'm hitting the high health Crux on purpose, then I'm switching targets here on purpose. This will allow you to clear faster by like 1 to 2 seconds because this will basically make sure that all the Crux are relatively even in health compared to just focusing a single Crux. That will of course cause you to be in a situation where one of the Krugs will always be lower health than the other one, whereas you want to generally equalize the health just through those clean auto attacks. And I like to actually max my E first and then my Q second, because getting extra 5 damage and 5% AD scaling on Q in the early game is not very useful, whereas getting extra flat damage on the E is more helpful. So I personally always max the E first and then the Q second, and of course W last for the jungle role and sometimes for the ADC role as well. So Nilah is my go-to pick in the jungle if I ever get autofill jungle, which you can clearly see is the case here, simply because obviously I got autofill jungle in this game. I tried to swap with literally anybody else, but nobody wanted to swap with me, so I had to go for the jungle role, which is definitely my least favorite role to play in the game. So here, what you will notice is I'm not going to contest the skull. Now, why is this the case? Well, basically because I'm honestly not sure if I win against Lilia. And just looking at my mana and my health just from my first clear, which I just got spotted here, by the way, by what is obviously Lilia's Hextech Toolkit pickup. She got the one that spots out people in the jungle, so clearly she knows I'm here. And she knows that I'm like half health and low mana, right? So I don't want to actually fight her in the early game because she's full health and full mana. We just saw that based on the fact that she was ganking top lane Teemo right there. So I'm like half health, half mana. I'm just going to reset and I'm going to attempt to go for the bot side skull because we know Lilia would start on blue buff. So she would start from blue buff, clear the red side and go for top skull. Whereas I start red buff and go to blue buff, and I would also then be on the top side skull. Now we can see Lilia is still here trying to get off gank off on Teemo, so most likely what she's going to do is she is going to go back into the river and farm up that skull. So what instead I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opposite side skull. So we do a 1-for-1 skull crab trade in the grand scheme of things, which is definitely alright. And then I'm going to go back to full clearing the jungle. So one of the strengths slash weaknesses of Nilah is that she is a big power farming jungle, something like a Graves, for example. Her ganks are not very amazing. With ult, it can be kind of alright, but by and large, her ganks are not amazing. So basically, you just want to basically power farm it up until you reach like 2-3 items. Go for objectives, you know, if you can, right? So she's a bit like a Kale and a Graves, where you just want to keep on farming and just generally avoid ganks unless the enemy team is so badly out of position that you are able to just gank them for free. But Nilah is really the kind of champion where you want to hit like 3 items. That's where you really want to actively start looking for fights. Other than that, just look for opportunistic fights where, you know, you have a numbers advantage, like 4v2 kind of fights, or like fights where the enemy team is like half HP and then you can just easily go in and clean up, fights like that. So this is also kind of tying into why you want to actually go for shield bow as a first item, because basically whatever items you go for as your first 3 items, you want to hit 3 items before you really get strong. So that's kind of why I don't really build Collector as a first item, because Collector is generally for that strong early game power spike. Well, it does of course make her strong in the early game compared to other items. However, there's no real point, right? Because you're still going to be weak even if you're stronger than what you could have been, you know, getting Collector. So I prefer to just stem the bleeding, get myself the shield bow and get the extra shield. So if item number 1, I get into a fight that I choose either through a gank or whatnot, or I get into a fight that I didn't choose, like for example showing up on the same skull crab as the enemy jungler or the same objective as the enemy jungler unintentionally, then I will have that extra layer of safety just to you know, keep myself a little bit safer and reduce the chance that I die with that extra little bit of shield. So that's kind of the main reason why I go for shield bow. Now, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be playing Nilah ADC and making a guide for her, which is why I'm actually doing this as an updated complete guide, even though I'm playing her in the jungle role and not the ADC role. Because Nilah is kind of those champions that is a very niche pick that you have to be against a very specific matchup for her to really be good. And honestly, that kind of matchup is really rare. And that's the kind of only time that I actually pick Nilah. So she's not someone that I actively blind pick or like pick a lot. It's just someone that I pick kind of like more rarely. So here you see that I know that the enemy jungler is going for the Herald. So here I do the classic jungle thing where I go for the gank on the side of the map that has the objective. I get a kill for my team, which Galio did pick up here, which is really unfortunate. I was hoping either myself or Twitch could pick it up. And then we go for the objective. So of course, the reason why we know Lilia was going for the Herald is because we actually spotted her on the river vision just now, before I actually went for the gank. And then now, I know I want to be on the opposite objective than Lilia because my team is not winning, right? Of course, my Twitch Gather lane is not going to win against a Kalista Karma lane. And my Teemo has died to Ornn once, so that's no good. Obviously, Kayle has completely no priority against Irelia, and she's probably going to get stomped by Irelia, because obviously Irelia is strong early game. Kayle is super duper weak, you know, basically until she hits 3 items and level 13. So she's basically going to never have priority. So I definitely want to go to do the objective that's opposite from the objective that Lilia wants to go. So here I'm doing 2 things. Number 1, I'm hovering my bot lane because it looks like they might fight here. And number 2, I'm just waiting for my red buff to spawn. So Twitch back pings. So we know he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to reset. So I'm just going to go for my red buff. And Irelia is copying quite a number of deaths. Now this whole game, by the way, is just a mass of flaming, by the way. I believe that Kayle and Teemo are actually duo queue, because they talked as if they are friends. Twitch, myself, and Galio, I believe, are solo queue. So in pick ban, Galio actually banned Heimerdinger, which the Teemo wanted to play. And then they were starting to piss each other off. Kayle dies 3 times, and I believe that Galio and Twitch both start flaming her. Teemo starts flaming them back, because obviously that is Teemo's friend. Or so I think it's Teemo's friend, and it just gets messy. So here is one of those opportunistic fights I'm talking about. Ornn is heavily committed onto the tower, heavily overextended. We know we have the mobility to reach him, and we know he can't actually really do anything about it. He's just too overextended, and we are able to gank him and get a free kill. So these are the kind of fights you really want to take as Nilah. So the gank I did on the Kalista just now, and the gank I did on Ornn, these are the kind of ganks you want to do. Those very high percentage ganks where you're very likely to get a kill. And yeah, so here is where I make a little bit of a mistake. I basically go to catch the wave here, but unfortunately Irelia actually shows up to the party. I W to block a little bit of damage, but here you can see the shield bow actually saves me. But either way, I wasn't going to survive. Kayle is actually the one that saves me. And because of Kayle, I don't have to blow my flash. Now, I could have, of course, just flashed over the chicken wall there, which is why I was just walking straight into the wall to see if I really needed to flash there. But turns out Kayle actually saved my life, so I didn't actually need to flash. So thanks to the Kayle for that. So as my literal whole team, the 4 of them are just flaming each other. I'm just here farming it up, and I'm just here obviously I never use the chat pretty much. So I'm just happily farming up the jungle and happily accruing my gold. So if you guys take a look at the current goal situation, I have the most gold on my team by quite a fair margin. Like other than the Teemo, I have like 1k gold higher than basically everybody else. And looking at my goal versus the enemy team, quite competitive in terms of my goal and majority of the enemy team. Of course, Irelia is super fed just from stomping the Kayle, so we can't really compete with her. So now Ornn somehow actually falls into our arms at 1 HP, but he's actually really tanky and we don't actually get the kill, so we actually force the flash to kill him. And I believe this is where my lack of jungle experience causes me to make a mistake. I didn't actually think I needed to blow flash there, but if I just smited him with the slow smite, I think I could have just run him down instead. But he basically got out of smite range by the time I actually remembered that I have a smite that can slow people down. So I end up having to waste my flash to kill him instead. So here I suspect Irelia is here, which is why I'm pulling the sweeper. I spot her inside. I'm trying to contest the red buff with her. Obviously I have the smite, so I should be fine. Here we know I don't win against Irelia based on that mid lane fight. My shield will procs. I'm trying to actually 1v1 her, but I end up basically making a mistake, which is greeting over the red buff and not letting her have it. I mean, I knew she was there, which is why I popped the sweeper, right? I knew she was on the red buff, which is why I'm trying to contest it. But obviously that was a mistake. Because I know that I don't win against her, but I tried to fight her anyway. I was kind of hoping that the red buff would be a bit lower. I can go in, smite it, and dash back out, but that's not exactly what happened. And I end up basically getting onto a full-on fight with her, which obviously I do not win. Although I do believe that at some point in the game, I do win against Irelia 1v1 when I hit like 3 items or so. I'm already at 2 completed items, so I'm on my way to getting to my item breakpoints. So even now taking a look at the goal, I actually still have more gold than like everyone on the enemy team except the 2 fat carries, which is Irelia and Kalista, which is also why in this game I'm going to go for armor boots. So here the second dragon is up, and it's kind of uncontestable, right? The best I can hope for is a miracle steal. Barely not getting tagged by the Irelia stun there. So here I'm like, you know, what can I do? So here I'm trying to join my team on the side. So 5v4 because Ornn is actually split pushing. Irelia flashes over, gets a 3-man stun. But I pop the W, I pop the ulti, and Irelia is getting CC'd. She goes down, but I go down straight after her, so 1-for-1 trade. In the meantime, the enemy team goes for all the kills. Kayle is actually takes the dragon that was leashed by the enemy team and actually steals the dragon basically. But now she has nowhere to run, so she has to run towards the enemy team's nexus instead. She tries to ult and turn. I think maybe executing might have been the best move here, but she's not actually able to get anybody. Ornn is now knocking on our inhibitor, and our Twitch has respawned to stop him, but Ornn, if he really wanted to, I think could have maybe tried to force the inhib because the next wave was here as well, but I think Ornn dying for the inhib might actually be worth it, but he doesn't choose to do that. And now I'm going to go back to farming. So I know my blue side is up. I'm just going to farm my blue side. As Nilah, before you hit 3 items, really it's just about farming. Now Ornn for some reason picks a fight with Teemo, so I'm just going to happily hop over the wall. Just run him down basically. And yeah, I'm just auto-attacking him. And yeah, I'm just auto-taking him down. I have my dash. I'm just going to dash after him and we just kill him. So now Kalista and Irelia are coming. Teemo Shroom actually slows down the Kalista significantly, but the minion wave comes in. I dash to dodge the stun from Irelia and I'm actually able to get out scot-free, which is a huge win in my book because I thought I was dead there with Kalista and Irelia chasing us. Now Irelia Kalista overextends by a lot, so I'm trying to chase her down. Unfortunately, she barely gets out of range for my ulti, and I actually end up getting baited by her, and I actually end up feeding and just dying to her. And now my team is in a full-on fight. Huge Lilia ulti there kills both of them, and now after the entire fight is over, Kill is now running in. But if she does that, she's just going to end up inting again, so thankfully she actually runs away. Now looking at the situation, the enemy team has like an 8k goal lead against my team, and it's kind of looking pretty horrible in all honesty, because 8k goal lead for the enemy team, yikes. However, the only kind of saving grace is that Twitch, Kayle, and Nilah are all really strong scaling champions. Right? If you hit some point in the late game, there could be a turning point where we simply outscale them. But the issue is how do we get to that point with a fed Kalista who can run us down, with a fed Irelia who can run us down, and with a fed Lilia as well to provide the magic damage. Enemy team picks up the Baron. Obviously, no point in contesting. There's nothing we can do. So now we're still going to continue to farm. We're very close to getting IE actually, and we're just a few camps away, I believe. So here I sweep because I actually expect them to invade my red buff after Baron. Like if I were them after Baron, I'm going straight to invade the enemy blue side, but they didn't actually do that. So I'm just picking up the farm. Here I want to reset for IE, but Ornn clearly wants to stop me, right? So here I'm obviously just starting to hit him. I dash away from the wall, dash back, and just kill Ornn. I'm not too sure what the idea there was. I want to reset again, but Karma is here to disrupt me, so I'm just going to get to a relatively safe position and finally get my reset to finish off my IE like so. So surprisingly, if you take a look, I'm 5-3 and 2, 3 full items. Now I swap out with my armor boots but my goal is actually really close to like Irelia and like even more than the fed Kalista, which is pretty surprising. So here I'm just joining my team. I'm looking for an opportunity to go in on somebody, like maybe the isolated Lilia, maybe they use all their spells and I can go in, but none of that is happening. So what I'm really doing here is I'm basically just walking around and waiting for an opportunity to present itself, hopefully not get poked out too much, but taking a little bit of poke damage here. And the TX is trying to get our mid lane inhibitor. Yeah, nothing much I can do right now. I'm just walking around, waiting for something to happen really. And now I'm taking a bunch of poke. T-Hex is melting me down. I have to pop the W for the movement speed. And here Ornn is ulting. I'm trying to get to the base to prevent my shield from proccing, but the Ornn second part of the ulti does hit me and my shield will procs, which is a huge waste because obviously I wasn't actually actively in the fight. So huge cooldown was lost on my end, which is really, really unfortunate. Now here the enemy team is actually overextending by quite a bit. My team is actually starting to run them down. I'm trying to catch up. The Galu gets a huge 2-man taunt. I'm going in with the ulti. Again, I'm not able to hit the Kalista, but either way, Kill is able to run her down and pick up the shutdown. So, ironically enough, we had got the first dragon from a trade. We've gotten the second dragon through that Kill sneaky kind of steal from behind. And now we actually gotten the pick on 3 of the enemy members right as the third dragon is spawning. So this is actually going to be Soul for my team, and we even have an objective bounty on this. All we need to do is prevent Lilia from coming in, which we do. We get the soul, and I do get tagged by Lilia E, but I'm just gonna walk away and see if we can get these minions. and the red buff as well. So at this point, if you take a look at the gold, Kill has actually been doing a pretty good job of farming, despite the fact that she's died multiple times. Now, I'm not sure what Lilia is doing here. She's way too aggressive. I'm just trying to run her down here. Finally able to get the kill on her. Nearly got KS'd by the kill there. But we are able to pick up the 900 gold shutdown. And here we are going to try to build towards our Mole Reminder, almost to the 4 item crit. I mean, obviously 4 item crit is huge. Also because Nilah's passive on the Q is able to convert crit into like attack speed and lifesteal as well. So huge value there. So here the enemy team spots me because of this ward, and Kalista, sorry, is trying to take my blue buff. Why would I allow that? So I'm just going in on the Kalista, pop the W so she does 0 damage to me and just one-shot her with the ulti. Obviously I'm at 3 items so I can actually fight now. I popped the QSS a little bit too early, but either way I smite down the Karma. Still have to flash for her, but we do get the kill on her, but I'm 1 HP. So Ornn is the only member of the enemy team alive. Lilia is about to respawn, and she does. But unfortunately, I was a little bit too caught up in the moment, so I don't realize Lilia actually respawning. I just thought the enemy team was aced, so I'm actually picking for Baron. And that kind of forebodes what's about to maybe happen here. So my team is doing Baron, everyone except Twitch. Twitch is pushing mid. And obviously Teemo Shroom gives us vision, nobody over the wall. I'm just going to smite the Baron, re-secure the Baron. I'm trying to recall. Here I'm honestly shopping, and then I was like, wait a minute, Lilia is attacking me, and then Lilia just kills me. And honestly, this is a really big mistake. Why? Because I'm the most fed member on my team, and I'm actually the most fed member in the game right now. I have 16k gold, and the next most fed person is Lilia with 15.2. So I'm the most fed member in the game right now. I need to push with my team with the Baron. But what just happened here instead is, number 1, Lilia killed me, so I lose a lot of Baron tempo. Number 2, I give her a shutdown, and number 3, Elder Dragon is spawning right now. So that means that my team is missing a smite because I'm not around. So thankfully, the game has lasted long enough that Kill is now level 14 with 4 full items. So she is now a unit and is now taking out multiple people. Gets a double onto the Karma and is going for the Lilia, maybe a triple there. Twitch actually picks up the kill instead. Meanwhile, my Galio on the T-Hex wants to win and is just pushing. Right, Kalista is now in trouble as well. And Ornn is trying to help her out. But Kalista goes down, and now Ornn is the only member alive with the TX on the inhibitor. So all we actually need to do is we don't even need Elder. If you look at the minimap, look at where I'm coming from. I'm just running straight down mid to try to help my TX end the game. TX ults the minions, ults the tower, and we're waiting for the next wave. Now, all Twitch has to do is attack Ornn and prevent him from recalling. So I'm pinging Twitch to attack Ornn. I don't want him to recall, I don't want him to come help us, I want him to stop Ornn from coming back. So now the 3 of us focus the Nexus, and Ornn nearly makes it back, but doesn't, and we actually get the dub, which is absolutely amazing. So, with all that, I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.